am Marwan Cameron, and this is The Conduit. All right, y'all. It is July 3rd, Saturday night, 9:31 p.m., 77 degrees in Kitsap County. Another hot day. Boy, oh boy. What a week. What a week. You know, we're going to get into this here in a minute, and it's going to be a doozy. Let's see how this goes. Let me make sure everything is looking good. My feed is going, and then we'll go ahead and jump right on into it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
It's a perfect time for you to get yourself something to drink. All right, looks like I'm doing well. We're straight. So we can go ahead and get on into it. All right, y'all. Be careful. It is the 3rd of July. In approximately 2 hours and 28 minutes, it will be the 4th of July. You need to make sure that you have situational awareness for people that do not have your best interest at heart. We're going to have a hard one tonight. We're going to have a real conversation. I am alone this evening because it's going to be a hard one. And I suspect that after this is done, I may actually lose some acquaintances. I won't call them friends because, if they were friends, they would still be that way after this podcast. But yeah, we got to talk about some stuff. A lot has happened this week. And one of the biggest news items is Bill Cosby's freedom. So we're going to have a conversation about that. We're going to tie it back to a lot of other things that are going on in our country. We're going to tie it back to what progress we have made, if we have actually made any progress, or is it a facade of progress, right? Taking down statues, people celebrating Juneteenth and such. Derek Chauvin getting 22 and a half years in prison, if you think that's something to celebrate. But we're going to go in. And like I said, this is going to be a hard conversation. Hit dogs holler. So if that's you, good. Good. All right. Yeah, I'm in a mood. I'm in a mood. And I'm tired. I'm exhausted. It's I'll say this. I find myself in this precarious position of wanting to unite Black people for the betterment of Black people so that we can make some progress in our lives and in our community. There was a drive-by shooting, I think within 90 seconds or 90 minutes of each other in Chicago, where a bunch of babies were slaughtered. Of course, I saw the news feed briefly. I couldn't even tell you the names of those babies, right? It's just not important. But we're not marching for that. We're trying to get our barbecue on, trying to get our firework on. Yeah, it's time. It's time, y'all. We need to go back to set this up and talk about how we continuously find ourselves here going through these things. I would tell you that this is probably not going to be very appropriate for little children. I'm going to play a series of videos, and in those series of videos, there will be some words used. So I want to let you know that you are likely to see images that you find disturbing. So do understand that. But we need to have the conversation, because somehow we seem to consistently find ourselves here over and over again, think that we're making progress. We're going along to get along. And these incremental steps that we make, we pat ourselves on the back and we say, hey, let's go ahead and sing that old Negro spiritual, we shall overcome. And we stay in the same place. And our gatekeepers, and there are a whole hell of a lot of gatekeepers that have a vested interest to make sure that they get the resources, that they get the accolades, that they stay in good standings with those that would oppress. They will fight vehemently to keep the status quo in place and to protect. You say that again. They will fight vehemently to keep the status quo in place, to make sure that they get their meritorious manumissions. I talked about that a while ago in my podcast. And you will watch how we will, Black folks, band together to protect the system that they claim that they want to dismantle. Now, you probably have been told, if you're one of those folks, don't mess up the bag. You're chasing the money, right? You sold your soul for the dollar. And that's what you were teaching the youth, that you can compromise your race, your people, your community to make sure that you get yours. You have a vested interest on keeping things how they are. So as I said, I'm torn. It's hard because on the one hand, need to try to unite, to build, to allow others to wake up. See, the mainstream media and others have told you that being woke is a negative thing. They did the same thing with Black Lives Matter. Now, I'm against the organization Black Lives Matter. I'm not against the meaning of Black Lives Matter. Those are two different things. But what happens is that we're so weak that we will allow people to twist and turn it into something bad. And then we can no longer use them. And they say, well, you know, if you just found a different way to talk about it, you know, maybe more people would be receptive to what it is you're trying to do. But the thing is that hit dogs holler. So when they say things like defund the police and people get pissed off, hit dogs holler. See, no one is actually saying, you know, oh, well, there shouldn't be any police and you get rid of all the police. I know I'm saying, and many of us are saying, get rid of qualified immunity and several other things, right? Don't allow police to resign or be fired and move to another jurisdiction. But we allow people to bastardize, twist our words, our efforts into something bad. They tell us what to accept and how to go forward. And we fall for it every single time. Hey, brother, you're going to mess up the bag. Progress is slow. There's a way that you got to do this. And so what they have to do is they've got to rally together and they have to say, you know what? We got to make sure that we freeze you out. We'll dump dirt on you. We don't care where it came from. We don't know what the facts are. We just say it. Right? It's effective. See what I did? I kept it in place. I kept it going. Right? So then you can't call out the actual things that need to be addressed, and you have to fall back. See, the big one from the left is, hey, this is really a class issue. And, if you made it a class issue, you would get more people to come on to your point of view, right? As Obama and others have said, a high tide rises all boats. We're still not going to do right by you specifically. But again, if we do things for everyone, you by proxy will rise with everyone else. Now, here's the thing. We can all rise together, but if we're in the bottom of the damn boat, doesn't matter how high we rise, we're still at the bottom of the boat. But you rose, right? How many of you are tired of being tricked? How many of you have been going along to get along, you didn't even realize it? How many of you have been going against your brother and sister by the direct or indirect action of those that would see us stay where we're at and continue to attack each other? Some of us jump up and gleefully will destroy us. But when it comes time to attack one of theirs, it's forgiveness time. Oh, I'm sorry. We need to forgive. We need to move on. We're the most forgiving people on the planet. See, they need to get a chance, even though they've done the most heinous things this planet has seen. They get forgiveness. They get another chance. They get a do-over. They get understanding. They get grace. Many of our brothers and sisters, primarily our brothers, are sitting in a jail cell, prison cell right now, wrongly accused. Well, I'll be pulling that article up here in a little bit, where the white woman recanted that it was him. And none of the evidence pointed toward him. He's been in prison for years. And the powers that be say, hey, we've got other pressing matters than to let this innocent man that's been rotting in jail out. See, anti-black misandry is real. There's black on black crime. There's white on white crime. It's all about proximity, right? What you're next to. But there's a misandric crime that black women and black men do to black men that is particularly vile. We got to talk about it. We got to talk about it. So as I said before, I'm going to play a series of videos, fair use.
Discover your family.
Let me go ahead and get that ready for us to see here. This is going to be a long one. So again, buckle up, get something to drink. We're going to be here for a while. Should get my backup on. You know what happens when I have these really hard conversations. Somehow my internet seems to go down or something happens, right? It's about how it goes. However, I got to tell you, again, since I've started with this Mac, it's been pretty darn good, I have to admit. So it has definitely made me a believer. I gotta accept that truth. The Apple products haven't been letting me down, and having this backup software that allows me to keep my internet even when they might cut it off is a pretty powerful tool. So I'm loving that. I'm loving that. So let me go ahead and get this thing going here. All right. So fair use, important to state that. Go ahead and put that on the screen there. Let's go ahead and take a look here at this first video. So we're going to go back a little bit, right?
If you click here right now, we will show you how you could collect.
Mississippi, of course, was a real storm center of opposition to abolition of slavery, to the election of Lincoln.
With the election of Abraham Lincoln, Southern states began to leave or secede from the Union.
A new Confederacy was being formed. A second American Revolution loomed on the horizon.
With Lincoln's election, it meant that Lincoln had the power to appoint people to hold federal offices in places like Mississippi. And this terrified Southerners because they thought, my God, Lincoln might appoint an abolitionist.
White Southerners feared losing their money, losing their way of life. There is a sense that everything that you stand for could be lost.
We do not intend to carry on war
against the government while we live under it, but we do claim a right to sever all connection with you. Mississippi Congressman Otho R. Singleton,
1859.
This rush to leave the Union was not unanimous by any means, but whether they supported secession or not, they thought Mississippi had the right to do it if it wanted.
If you read what Mississippians said when they passed the ordinance of secession, it's clear that the only thing that created secession was the issue of slavery, the protection of the slave system.
Mississippi's war, slavery, and secession is made possible in part by the generous support.
All right, so we're setting up some foundation here, okay? And as I said, we need to go back because we need to understand our history in order for us to have a full conversation. True story?
Or to viewers like you.
Go ahead and get this off here. So we've got to have that. How much do we know about our history? And I'm not going to play this whole thing here. There's really just one little small piece that I want to talk about. But I want to get your mind ready for the conversation. All right. I want to get your mind ready for the conversation. Because I don't think that we really take it seriously, what we've been through and the ramifications of what happens to us now. All right. Again, fair use. And as you can see, this video says it may be inappropriate for some users. I understand and I wish to proceed. It is particularly vile. Let's go on in.
This is the muddy backwoods Tallahatchie River, where a weighted body was found, alleged to be that of young Emmett Till.
I saw a hole, which I presumed was a bullet hole, and I could look through that hole and see daylight on the other side. And I wondered, was it necessary to shoot it?
Here is Money, Mississippi, the home of Roy Bryant. It was here that the Chicago Negro boy, Emmett Till, is alleged to have paid unwelcome attention to Roy Bryant's most attractive wife.
When white women was on the streets, you had to get off of the street. That was a way of life. And all a white woman had to say was, that nigger kind of looked at me, assessed me. So we're talking about a way of life that in this part of the country that was enforced by law.
This was the home of Mose Wright. It was from this shack the state alleges Emmett Till was taken by Roy Bryant and J.W. Marlowe.
The house was as dark as 1,000 midnights. You couldn't see. It was like a nightmare. I mean, someone come and stand over you with a pistol in one hand, a flashlight. You're 16 years old. This is a terrifying experience.
The Till case held the whole system up for inspection by the rest of the country and by the rest of the world. It was the beginning of the focusing on the problems between the races in the Deep South that culminated in the ultimate civil rights battles of the rest of the 50s and into the 60s.
I think Black people's reaction was so visceral. And I think it was probably more than anything else in terms of the mass civil rights movement, the spark that launched it. Everybody knew we were under attack. And that attack was symbolized by the attack on a 14-year-old boy.
All right, so what are we talking about here? What are we talking about here? We know the story. You've seen the images. But we play with it today. We're not serious about it. So a white woman lied, and what resulted was what's been happening to us before and after. Not always physically, but maybe our career. Ostracized from our families. He's 14. The mother decided to have an open casket because a white woman lied. He wasn't the first. He wasn't the last, and it continues. Now, we're all very intelligent, so I'm sure that you can see where I'm going with this in regards to Bill Cosby. But wait, there's more. See, we're in a scary time in this country, and we have been saying since before Rodney King, we talked about police brutality, where those cops were acquitted. And we watched all the brutality that has happened since then and up until this time. We watched the execution in broad daylight for almost 10 minutes of George Floyd, where we just stood and watched and held our cameras for fear of experiencing our own Me Too. We marched, people joined us. It's a sea change. Something is going to happen. And we're still right on pace from his death to be where cops still kill about 1,000 people per year. There's still story after story of police brutality that is happening. But we're not marching anymore. We're not demanding any more change. We've got COVID fatigue. We've got racial justice fatigue. They let us paint some murals. They set up a statue. They gave you a holiday so you can buck dance and celebrate and turn it into a party. In the meantime, Black men are continuously being destroyed as when we're lied upon. In order to get your meritorious manumissions, you've got to go along to get along, and you will be so fervent in your condemnation of your brother that the white folks and other people, the powers that be, can just sit back and watch you lynch your own brother. Your father, your dad, your uncle, your grandfather, your son. See, we've been saying it the whole time, right? But we don't really matter. Not Black men. We don't. You've made that clear. See, we got to a point in this country where it was believe all women, but we do not believe the Black man because he is not to be believed. Instead, it's, I could see that. Yeah, there might be something off with that brother. Yeah, he probably did it. They are over-sexualized. The stats, the stereotypes that are parroted by everyone, gets parroted by our own. And we start believing the propaganda that they fed to us. And we've been spoon-fed for so long. Now they don't need to feed us anymore. We'll feed ourselves. And we'll get pissed if you try to take the spoon away. Curious. It's interesting because they'll say, well, what would be the motive for this woman to lie? Why would she lie? So you have to justify how this paragon of innocence would tell a lie, excusing mental health or whatever else may be going on in her life. See, for us, it's always guilty. Can't prove your innocence. And even then, even if you can prove it, you're still guilty. And even if you're found innocent on the other side of it, your life is destroyed that you can't get back. I tell you, as disgusting as it was to look at that image of a 14-year-old boy's undistinguishable face, this might even be more scary. Shout out to, Phil Scott and the African Diaspora Channel.
cry challenge. And I want you to watch this fake cry challenge because this is some scary crap, ladies and gentlemen. But let's go ahead and roll that clip.
Hi, do you want to learn to cry? Watch this. First stare, and then slowly make your cry face. And that's how we cry.
That's some scary shit. Let's continue.
And it felt great to be a liar.
So for me, when I saw that, my mind started really turning.
So I'm going to stop it right there. Okay. So they have been weaponizing their tears for a long time. This is a challenge. So how do you explain that? How do you explain that? But folks will, right? That looks really believable. I mean, there's tears and everything. So how does this relate? Again, we're looking at Emmett Till because for a lot of us, we don't have a lot of our history. We don't know a lot of our history, but we know that, right? So we've got a common core that we can start from. Now, this is 2021, and this is the challenge today. And if you want, you can Google, you can do a YouTube search and look at men who have been lied on and see scores of instances where this has happened. But most time, we're going to take the plea because they're going to throw the book at you, right? They're going to overcharge. See, this is what the institution of white supremacy looks like, right? It's not just the cops. It's the public defenders. It's the jury. It's the judges. It's the prosecuting attorney. It's the charges that they levy on you. And you don't want to do 10 years in prison. You don't want to do 5 years. So typically, what do? You take the plea. You don't have the money. When you get out, maybe your family is there, but maybe they're not. A lot of times they're not, especially depending on how long it's taken. You had a significant other, someone you were serious with, that person's gone. They're in another relationship with other people. And we can be blasé and say, well, you know, then she really wasn't right for you because she would have stayed. So that really wasn't right for you. That's wow. We're just so cavalier with other people, well, with black men's feelings and their experiences. their retirement, their earning potential and power, their standing in the community. All these things are destroyed. Their relationship with their children, with their other family members. People are dying while they're incarcerated. But as in what I was saying earlier, I've got other fish to fry. I can't worry about trying to free this man that was actually innocent. And so we go along to get along. Because if you go against the majority, you're going to be on the out. You don't think like us. You might have all the requisite experience, knowledge, skills, and ability on paper. You might have all those things, but you know what? You're not a good fit. There's just someone else that kind of fits better with us. They got all the same credentials. Matter of fact, they may have a little lower credential, but you know, they might just be a better fit. We just feel a little bit more comfortable with this Negro. Question is, are you that Negro? As I said before, for those of you that watch this podcast, I'm sure I may lose some acquaintances. And for those that I don't lose, there'll be some more slick stuff happening behind the scenes. You know, what's interesting is when you finally do wake up and you find yourself in this freeing position, the reason why people become afraid of you is because there is no meritorious manumission for you. There's no buyout. There's no payoff. You can't give me or my organization money to go along with the okie doke. We just ain't doing it. And we see what's happening locally. I'll talk about that at some point in time, right? Because these things are still happening. The institutions are still there. They're being upheld. Matter of fact, the article came out on July 1st on the rescue mission. Who has spoken out yet? Who's spoken out yet? But you got a lot to say behind the scenes. A lot of whispers to tear down a black man behind the scenes. You ain't got nothing to say here because you haven't said it. You quick. You jump up first. You raise your hand. Don't worry about it, Massa. I got this. We haven't heard anything. And what needs to be said that people are afraid to say in our community is, again, let's be intellectually honest here. I know it's going to be really difficult for you guys to do that tonight, and I know I'm being condescending. But everybody is not your friend. Every black person is not your friend. Everybody in the BIPOC community is not your friend. Every indigenous is not your friend. Every person of color isn't your friend. Every AAPI is not your friend. Everyone from the Latino community is not your friend. Everyone from the LGBTIQ plus is not your friend. But we can't call it out because if we do, then we need to get canceled, right? Hey, brother, we're trying to make this coalition here. Now, they can be full-throated and talk about how we are a danger. And millions of dollars have to be thrown out and pushed out to protect one community. Right? Because a group is getting things yelled at them. They're getting spit on. They're getting assaulted. And in one instance, there was a mass murder, yes. But this is not a comparison. And these things are relatively new in the last year as far as an uptick, and we still have not been protected. Getting fair use. CJ Hito, another person you might check out.
It's part of your beauty. It's part of, just natural women, having long hair. It's feminine, but without hair, you're just bald, nappy headed, crusty head, walking around with your shame. Your shame will follow you everywhere you go. Before I go further, let me read to you this verse that God himself did that to you. God Almighty, my husband, did that to you.
New intro. So much love and appreciation to those of you who have been with me for the 2-year period plus that I've been doing this.
I'm playing this so you can support this brother if you want.
Love and support to the channel. And to anybody else who is brand new to the platform and you would like to support the channel, also you can do it by way of Patreon, Anchor, the clothing store, and also the shoe shop that is listed in the comment description below. And again, thank you to any and all of you guys who have been here to support this channel during the 2+ year period. I wouldn't be able to do what I do every single day without you.
Now, one thing I'll say about him, if you check out his channel, what he does is he shows, he talks about a lot of different things, but one of the focal points that he has is to show where there are people from the AAPI community that are doing things against the Black community that doesn't make the mainstream media. He shows where there are the 7-year-old Black kid who had his bike in the Asian guy's yard and the guy shot him in the arm. 7-year-old. Those are the videos that he shows because these things don't make the mainstream media. So what ends up happening is we are vilified and these things are on a loop. You see them on YouTube commercials. You see them on MSNBC. You see them on Fox News. You see them across the board. Right, left, it doesn't matter. Center, they play these things, right? That this violence is one way and it's not. He also shows where there's other people that are attacking the AAPI community. And again, these things don't catch any mainstream media coverage because it's Black people that are evil and bad inherently, and particularly Black men. See, that's the anti-Black misandry that I'm talking about. Let's go back in here.
It's just something we don't and won't talk about. We are very ashamed of it, says Bandal, this Black woman. So she says, we are very ashamed of it. So see, God's people don't walk around feeling shameful. God's people are walking around filled with glory and long hair. See, but if a woman has long hair, it's a glory to her. But yet this black woman says, all the black women feel, shameful because they're bald. And I, as a woman, can understand, because that's part of your beauty. It's part of, just natural women, having long hair. It's feminine. But without hair, you're just bald, nappy-headed, crusty head, walking around with your shame. Your shame will follow you everywhere you go, no matter how much money you try to buy, to buy wigs. But before I go further, let me read to you this verse that God himself did that to you. God Almighty, my husband, did that to you. Let me read to you what the Lord God says, because remember, there's a lot of these, you will know a man by his fruits. There's all these like black women claiming to be the bride of Christ, and many church people out there claiming Jesus was black, but to their shame, the shame follows them everywhere. You'll know a man by his fruits. Look at Africa, and now all the African women are bald-headed, and this is what God says about that. The Lord says, the women of Zion are haughty, walking around with outstretched necks. You know how they're always like this with the attitude, like haughtiness, okay? The women of Zion are haughty, walking along with outstretched necks, flirting with their eyes, strutting along with swaying hips, all that twerking, with ornaments jingling on their ankles. Therefore, the Lord will bring sores on the heads of the women of Zion. The Lord will make their scalps.
Now, black women, I'm just trying to figure out what in the world is going on so much that a individual such as this can freely go to social media and bad mouth you in the way that they decided to do. And also to note to a lot of people who didn't catch on to what she did, also, she's reading the Bible.
So, again, most of you have never seen this, right? But again, since Rodney King, since before, we've been talking about this. And they say, oh, it ain't like that. It's not that bad. It's just a few bad apples. What do we think about this? Or do we say, oh, you know what, just ignore it. She's crazy. See, the problem is that she's not the only one. And she is free to say these things in different spaces. You ever notice, you watch, some of your favorite YouTubers, and they get demonetized for certain words that they say. You ever notice that? But then you ever wonder how these folks can just freely speak this way? That video, by the way, has 18,994 views. And that was June 28, 2021. It only had 63 thumbs down. Man. We got it tough. When are we going to wake up? So even when we say, hey, you know what? We're going to try to change. We're going to try to do something to help our community.
Ohio, there's a police chief who thought it was a good idea and just hilarious to put KKK, Ku Klux Klan, on the back of some type of uniform on a desk inside of the precinct. Now, this is a white police chief, and he did this to a black cop. So I want you to see this footage. There's no sound to it because it's literally the footage inside of the precinct. So here's what you see. You see that yellow thing there? I want you to pay attention to that because something's about to happen. Here's the chief. What he's putting on that yellow garment is a Ku Klux Klan, Ku Klux Klan sign, a KKK sign. That's what he's doing. Now he's put it on there. I think he may have taped it on, And here's the officer's desk, and he kind of chuckles about it. And he looks at it. Chief comes out. He makes some kind of joke. Hey, what, you gonna fire me now? Whatever he said, whatever goofy thing he said. But this was funny to the police chief. This was in Sheffield Lake, Ohio. Police Chief Anthony Campo has now resigned after this KKK incident on a black officer's desk. This happened last Friday.
You know what? That sound familiar? That sound familiar? And here's the thing. What's he supposed to do? In all honesty, what's he supposed to do? Right? He can get mad. He can get pissed off. What's he supposed to do? It's his boss. Right? That's the culture. And he resigns. But he's been on the force for more than 30 years, so he gets his pension. He doesn't give a damn. Pay me. Let's look at it again. And this is the part that pisses me off.
Whatever he said, whatever.
Is this right here, right? Because it's like, okay, look, I get it. It's tough. We're in this tough situation. We don't know how to react to that. You see that? What are you supposed to do? You get irate? Well, you're the angry black man. You can't take a joke? Ha ha, he he. Why are you so serious? Oh, you taking it out of control. You blowing it all out of control. What if this wasn't caught on camera? Right? He's a patrolman. I think he'd only been on the force for a little bit. If we listen to the rest of this is TYT, by the way. You can check out the whole podcast there. But the guy says, look, I hired him, like a year ago, and it was just a joke. But how many of you just laugh?
But this was funny to the police chief. Whatever he said, whatever.
I just want to play it again. Look at the brother's response when he comes in. He he ha ha. See, y'all are doing that right here in this damn town. He he ha ha. No, Jeb is really good. He's good. I know him. He's good peoples. He ha ha. He don't mean nothing by that. That's just Jeb. Everybody knows Jeb's just, he's old. See, they will make those excuses. Black folks will make those excuses. But let a black man be accused of something, not do it. Let him be accused of something and watch them hang him on the cross. So-called Christians. I'll tell you, as a black man, you are dangerous. They think that you are dangerous. They think that you are a threat, even your own people. I told you how when I used to be at the college, right? Think about it. You try to reinvent yourself. Your body's messed up. So you go to college. And it takes you, 7 years to get your associate degree and your bachelor degree and your master's degree. $50,000 worth of debt. Oh, it's not like what they tell you, right? I've had so many white people to my face tell me, oh, well, I got student loans. I didn't get it like minorities and other black folks, where you got grants and scholarships. And it's like, what the hell? It's like, I have $50,000 in student debt. What the hell are you talking about? Affirmative action, my ass. But I've got all this schooling, right? And I want to go to work. I want to replace the income that I lost when I was a construction worker. And I got to play in the sandbox with these people. I'm a liberal. I got to go along to get along. I'm 6'1", 300 pounds. They're scared. At least they say they are. See, I don't think they really are, because they'll talk to you any kind of way, and they know that they can call the police on you or security or whatever else. They can cry. They can do all these different things. They can act like they're more offended than you are. So they're not really afraid of you. It's just a ploy and a tactic. And they know that they have their lapdogs, their coons, their go along to get alongs that will defend them and tell them how they're good folks, they're good people, and they're misunderstood. And oftentimes, the lapdogs are worse than they are. So I'm smiling. I'm trying to make sure that I don't show anything else but happiness. What was that? I'm not a good whistler. Don't worry. Be happy. Listen to the song I wrote, and you can hear it note for note. And don't worry. Don't worry. Be happy. Because if I show you anything else, then I'm a threat. And maybe you'll give me a little bit. You'll carve me out in this corner. But if I want anything more, then I got to go along to get along. I got to smile. Hey, awesome. You're awesome. You're cool. All right, y'all. Don't worry. I'm working 18, 20 hours a day. And I loves it. I know I'm only getting paid a percentage of what y'all getting paid. And I'm working circles around you, but no, it's okay. No, don't worry about it. Oh, racist stuff is happening. I tell people about it. Don't worry. No, don't worry. It's all good. I just want to help. I just want to be of service. That was me. And it's understandable. I get it. 7 years, $50,000 worth of debt. It's a long time. I got a wife. I got a kid. No, we were gonna do what is that? IBF, ITF, whatever it is. In vitro at one point in time. They're talking about $60,000 to try to have Layla. Yes, sir. Then I can tell myself, you know what? I need to be in this position, because if I'm in this position, I can get my foot in this door here. I can try to crack it open and let people come on through. Come on. Come on. Get in there. Come on. Oh, what? They said, what about me? You believe that? Oh, okay. Damn, that's messed up. All the time I've spent with you, you kind of know who I am, what I'm about, but oh, you believe that, huh? Okay. Let me put myself back on here. Okay. See, the thing is they break their tools when they're done with them. So as long as you are in compliance and you're a tool, as long as you are not a threat, you can exist and you can ascend to different spaces. And if you notice, think about the change that has actually taken place, either locally, statewide, or nationally. Do the faces still look the same in the high places? Does the sentiment still look the same in the high places? Are people still asking for those groups to receive forgiveness in those places? Are they still condemning Black men in these places? So we talk about diversity and equity. We talk about misogyny. But most people have never, ever heard of misandry. Because when it comes to men, it's the toxic masculinity, down with the patriarchy. The thing is, they have this saying. They say, well, the greatest trick the devil ever did was to make people think he didn't exist. When actually it was probably to make people think that they didn't need their Black men, that they didn't need the warrior class. You don't need them. Cast them aside. They're dangerous. They're toxic. They're going to mess up your bag. They're going to keep you from being able to take care of you and your children, to make your programs work, to have money come in and flow to you. We'd love to give you this money, but if we give you this money, you're going to cause problems, so we don't dare do that. You're so divisive. You need to bring people together. You need to accept what's happening. You could talk a little bit about it, but we're going to tell you that you don't see. What are you going to believe? Me or your lying eyes? Believe me, because I'm telling you that it doesn't exist. You didn't see it. You didn't feel it the way that it was actually intended. It was a mistake. They didn't know better. There's only a few bad apples. They're older. Just the grandfathers, just the great grandmothers. Oh, they'll tell you it's not even women. Not even the women. But we see the Dylan Roos. We see example after example after example. And we don't condemn that. As I said, there's an article locally that came out here on July 1. Haven't heard anything about it. Go along to get along. We have to destroy him. We've got to try to neuter him. Because if we don't, he is going to force our hand. He's going to make us bite our owner. He's going to risk or jeopardize our bag, and we can't have that. So we got to make sure we dismantle and we control from behind the scenes. You might not want to mess with that dude. Have you heard? So I ask, which one of you pieces of shit are trying to Emmett Till me? Oh, man. I tell you, it's cool being free. You know, I like my robot. Know what I'm saying? See, when you're free and you're no longer afraid, it's going to be what it's going to be. Come on, I can handle the smoke. Let's go ahead and sing. Shame, insult, need to be right, guilt. Let's go. See, it took a while, but I am my father's son. Now, I thought about that. You know, a lot of people didn't know who my father was. Those that did knew that he was not a go along to get along brother. He told you how it was, and he succeeded in spite of. And they tried with him too. Now, admittedly, I'm not my father, not half. But since I strive to be, folks gonna catch hell in this county. Oh, folks gonna catch hell in this county, man. When we talk about revolutions, when we talk about trying to escape slavery or revolt against slave masters, you know, the reason why we weren't more successful is because we had Black folks in the midst who betrayed us. Who conspired against us. And today, what that looks like is there's no slave master to speak. There's the machine. There's the institution of white supremacy that everyone plays into to keep that institution in place. So let's not be stupid when we say, oh, well, who are you telling? Who is this white supremacist out there that this Black person is running to and telling? No, there's not one. It's the institution. See, they can't jeopardize the bag. So they got to protect their metaphorical masters from those that would tell the truth, that would out them, that would jeopardize the bag. That would tell them that they are holding Black people back. I was just telling someone the other day that I don't expect perfection. I only expect the effort. I respect the effort. I respect the try. Fall, fail. That is good because you are trying. You are trying to be better than you were today. You are trying to be better than you were yesterday. I can't ask any more than that. Pay attention. Have situational awareness. Teach yourself something. Teach someone else something. Build yourself so that you may build the community, that you may build your children in the way that they should go, so that they aren't still in bondage, not free to be who they are, going along to get along, biting their tongue, accepting things that they know are wrong just so they can take a seat. The thing is most of y'all going out in the first wave. We watched how it went down for COVID. I watched how other communities banded together and supported each other, made sure that the elderly and the infirmed were taken care of. I watched our brothers and sisters panicked, not able to work together. Because they spend so much time being whipped up into don't work with that person. You know what's best. You're not humble. You can't be accountable for anything. It's always someone else's fault or something else's fault. You can't apologize. You can't fall back. You can't follow. You damn sure can't lead. Can you grow your food? Do you have an infrastructure of support? We hit triple digits in June, temperatures we've never seen before. Still due for the 100-year quake. We're on a peninsula. Food shortages, water shortages, projected in our near future. Are we ready? Ain't gonna be McDonald's for your ass. You can't cook, you can't clean. You're not useful to the group. You don't know how to fix something. You can't use a tool. You can't read an instructional manual. You can't follow instructions, either orally or verbally. You can't be told what to do. You're too busy keeping it 100. No cap. First wave, you're out of here. Pandemic gets bad again. See, we died in mass. See, there was a time when it looked like India for us, and we didn't want to believe, right? We didn't see it here, so ain't no big deal. And we talk all that stuff about Africa and the motherland, and we kings and we're queens and this and that, but the kings and the queens in the South are just dying by the hundreds. We have no infrastructure here. We're not ready for anything. Honestly, I'd tell y'all to get ready, but really, you're just being away. In all honesty, resources are wasted on you. Seems really harsh. But you watch every other group support their own. Even oftentimes when they are super dead wrong. And I'm not necessarily saying that we need to do that, because we need to call out what's wrong. But we are so quick to throw our brother or sister under the bus, to attack. Hell, we shouldn't even need a word of benefit of the doubt. I'm believing them until it is proven otherwise. There is no damn benefit of doubt. Part of the problem. But that's okay though. The thing is you don't have to watch, but it will be told. And more people are coming. See, they're looking for something. They're searching for something. See, what they've seen, what exists here now, both locally and nationally, is not adequate. It does in certain small pockets, but not enough. They're hungry for something more. They're searching for something. They're searching for authenticity, something that they can believe in, something that they can grow in. And they're coming. We are preparing a room for folks to awaken and to grow in an uncompromised truth. That's what B1 is all about. We say Black Lives Matter, but then we do exactly the opposite. We cheer for Juneteenth. It's like you're in the Matrix. Right? How many times did they attack Zion and start over with another one? Give them the holiday. All right, they got the holiday. Woo, yay. Y'all happy? Y'all danced? Now what? What changed? How did your lives improve? Or did you just spend a bunch of resources on a day to celebrate that is now long since passed? Some of you are planning for the distraction next year. Already. We think about capitalism, right? And how Martin Luther King Day, bedroom sale. Get a good deal on a new car. Get the last year's model for a little bit cheaper. You don't think that's going to happen with Juneteenth? We go into the store. They're already advertising back to school. Summer just started. We get back in. We'll start seeing Labor Day stuff. We'll start seeing Halloween stuff. And sometimes we'll see Halloween stuff with Thanksgiving stuff and Christmas stuff all together, right? Because they got to keep you distracted. I talk to so many people that are so caught up in, I want my kids to have this or I want my kids to have that. When we should want your kids to be educated and for your kids to be free, to not be caught in that bondage. We talk about breaking these cycles of poverty, adverse childhood experiences. But how do you break them when we're still valuing those same things and we still listen to people that tell us, oh no, this is how you need to do it. No, this is wrong. I know that this used to work for y'all and you used to be more together as a people when this and this was happening, but we don't like that. And we say that's bad. And we've done studies, and on these studies, we've said, no, that's abuse, or that's this, or that's that. You can't do it this way. Give them the timeout. Talk to them softly. And look at our kids now. I want my kid to have a better life than I had. Be free. Do whatever you want. No structure. Play video games. Be emotional. Go crazy. Do what you want. Have a temper tantrum. Don't earn it. Right? Remember there was time where it was like, oh, why should everyone get a trophy? Making all these kids saw. And they beat you down, right? Because a lot of the stuff comes from the left. And as a voting bloc, we vote left majoritively. So we go along to get along. Yep, that's what we got to do. Yeah, that's the best thing. That ain't the best thing for our kids. And they say that they're going to accept something that's culturally relevant and that things need to be culturally relevant. But then all of a sudden it's like, well, yeah, we need to acknowledge that it's cultural, but you still need to do it this way. Or is that superficial? We've seen the iceberg, right? The things that you can see on the surface. They'll address all the cultural crap that's on the top that everyone can see, right? The food, the clothing, the language, all that stuff. They're not addressing the things that are underneath the waterline that you can't see. See, because underneath, that iceberg is in the water and it's in deep, right? It's solid. See, the stuff on the top, that's melting. It's superficial, surface. But again, I can't even talk like this in meetings. Even now. Because in the last meeting that I was invited to, or you can watch the eyes roll. I saw that in the last meeting I was in. I watched a woman laugh on camera, roll her eyes, try to discount the Black community's thoughts and questions. And right now, we just need to take notes and get ready. Identify those that are truly not allies. And then identify those that are traitorous. As I said before, when we talked about slaves escaping or revolting and turning against their masters and killing them, and how we could have overcome a lot sooner if we didn't have the betrayers, the Judases. We got to clean our house. And that means the destruction of stuff that people have built. And we look at it as this accomplishment, but the way that I see it as the Tower of Babel. And God says it must be destroyed. Because as long as those people exist, or as long as those people thrive, as long as they can continue to get the bag, as long as they will forgive the system and those that fight to keep the system in place and openly fight against their brother primarily, they must be dismantled. Just having a conversation earlier today, we are not in the age of Martin. We're in the age of Malcolm, Garvey. See, if you notice, even after all this time, who do they celebrate? They celebrate Martin. They allow us to celebrate Martin, right? We have streets all over the country called Martin Luther King Jr., Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. the third Boulevard, whatever. Junior the third. He's a junior. Do we have Malcolm X Boulevard? What do they quote when they quote Martin? See, they don't really talk about how at the end, when Martin was assassinated, government sanctioned murder. They don't talk about how Martin was talking more like Malcolm. They don't use the quotes that Martin was saying at the end of his life. And Malcolm is too militant. But as a wise person told me today, that many of our youth identify more with Malcolm than they do with Martin. We are in the era of Malcolm. By any means necessary. By any means necessary. You must learn how to eat healthy. You must learn how to grow food. You must learn how to teach your kids STEM. Make sure that they're strong. You must teach your kids and yourself vocational skills. You must teach yourself and kids how to effectively communicate. You must effectively teach yourself and kids how to work together, how to begin to love yourself so that you can love your brother and sister by any means necessary. This is the age that we're in. So if you are coming to me and you're telling me that I need to be against this brother or sister, if it is not because they are a traitor to the group, I'm not the one you're going to want to tell that to. Now, if they are a traitor to the group, I want to hear all about it. Sodom and Gomorrah, I think the story said, don't look back, shake the dirt from your feet. And those that look back return to sand. So you have the opportunity. Walk away. Don't look back. I understand that many are lost and can't be helped. And it's unfortunate. It is. But that's okay. That's okay. Because everybody isn't going to make it to the promised land. Martin didn't make it. Malcolm didn't make it. They didn't get to see the end result. But we've come a long way. We have lived vicariously through old leaders for too long. We have made no gains. We rested on the laurels of the achievements of others. We were lazy, content. Bill Cosby was let out of prison. It's so interesting how we think of, I'm not a big conspiracy theory person, but, you know, Prince trying to get his master's, or he had his master's. All of a sudden, somehow there's an overdose. He's dead. Michael Jackson, he had and he owned the Beatles collection. He's dead. Bill Cosby tries to buy NBC. People can come out of 30 years and say he did this, that, and the other. Interesting. It's bullshit. So they're cool if you don't get too powerful. And here's what's odd, you know, right now they're working on a movie for one of their greatest heroes, Elvis. And I've heard all the excuses. Well, back then that was okay. He could be with the 14-year-old girl. That was acceptable. What would we be saying now? Not to even mention all the stuff that he stole from black people. But he is the hero of so many. But was he not a pedophile? When R. Kelly was arrested this last time, radio stations can no longer play his music. And we were told that we were forced to shun him. Can't even enjoy the music because of who and what he is. Take it. Destroy it. Cannot exist anymore. But they will rationalize anything they have to in their own minds on why Elvis is still okay. I guess the statute of limitations on that is passed. But for Cosby, no. Right? And we're not even talking about the same thing. And that's what I mean. See, we constantly get caught up in this thing where, you know, they tell us how we can go about gaining our own independence, our own freedom of thought, our own sovereignty of mind. Destroy her, destroy him. No, ours are different. That's a whole different situation. We're going to celebrate him. We're going to celebrate his greatness. He was iconic. It's our hero. Do we have any historic black men that they haven't either destroyed or outright murdered? That were against the go along to get along? Are there any? I know it's a hard conversation. But like I said, I'm tired. And I get free by the day. And I got to tell you, You know how they say, how do you sleep at night? Aside from my own physical issues, I sleep damn good now. You know? Way better than I used to. Because I don't worry about it. I know I got to go through so many. I know so many are going to be lost. That can't be saved. And it was a tragedy thinking about how many cannot be brought over, can't be reasoned with, reconciled with. See the bangers in Chicago and other places that are killing kids, right? Not going to be able to save them. Just like we're not going to be able to save some of these folks in these nonprofits and some of these companies and churches. One thing about the gangbangers is, yeah, they're taking a life. They're killing a potential warrior, scientist, leader. But the people in these organizations, in these nonprofits, in these churches are keeping the community back. They're not just destroying one person or one family. Going back the entire county. Let's go on and get to this. This is the Black Authority. This brother is definitely pretty militant. You check him out. I think he gets his he keeps it real raw. And while I don't agree with everything, there are things that I do agree with. There are some bad words here. As you notice, I try not to use too much toxic language because there's just so many words in the English dictionary. I wonder how many people don't feel safe with me.
Around the world, and welcome back to the home, the
Let's check him
haven,
out.
the stronghold, and the everlasting superfortress of intelligent black thought. Thank God we are the black media, and this is the Black Channel, and I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the voice of Black America, the Black Authority, broadcasting to you live from the only historically black college and university of higher education and learning in the cosmos, because it damn sure ain't Howard anymore. You are, of course, welcome to join us. And join us you shall, because on tonight's program here, we have a lot of ground to cover and a lot going on. So go ahead and strap in, because it's going to be a ride here on tonight's program. I also would like to introduce back to the program here again. Go ahead and bring you up here, Attorney Aikisha Shabazz. Welcome back to the Black Channel, sister. We can go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you. B1 family. Pleasure to be back. Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, you know, as you're aware here, there have been a lot of folk out there who have been trying to tender their, I would say amateur, but to be totally honest with you, is just absolutely ridiculous opinions at this point. Of course, we will get to Mark Lamont Schill We will get to that here shortly. But while they're out there priding themselves on bringing on people who have no legal background, who have no legal understanding, they're just bringing on so-called professors and academics for the purposes of smearing and muddying the waters. We're going to do something a little bit different. We are going to actually talk to some academics who got some legal background and experience. So that is what you are here for. So thank you very much for joining us tonight, because like you, I've been following what happened here. For those of you who are unaware of it, if you've been living under a rock, I don't know where in the world you've been, but all right. Bill Cosby was released from prison. The Pennsylvania Supreme Court, that I believe they heard his case back in December, they got around to issuing their decision here a few days ago, and they decided that they basically threw out the case against him. It was vacated, and a lot of folk have been hideously mischaracterizing what occurred. That's what we're going to be taking a look at here tonight. So for those of you who don't have the facts about it and whatnot, Attorney Shabazz and myself, we actually read these things. I read all 79 pages. And if you haven't read it, I've gone ahead and provided the link in the chat room so you all can go ahead and take a look at that. I'll put the link in the description here later. But Attorney Shabazz, it was a rather lengthy one there. And I want to find out for you, as far as clarity is concerned of the decision, because I've read court decisions before, just like you have. Sometimes they're a labyrinth filled with legalese that takes twists and turns. And it's been my experience that injustice is usually encompassed in decisions that have a lot of strange twists and turns, that use a lot of jargon and things like that. This decision, in my opinion, was not that way, but I don't want to characterize it. In your opinion, as a practice jurist here, what do you, as a practice lawyer, what do you think of this opinion and the way it was written?
Well, back in 2018, when he was convicted, I said that this case would be reversed. So the opinion, it was well written, spent a lot of time in the factual recitation of what happened and how the case came to be before the Supreme Court, which I appreciated, because a lot of the media was just wrong, right? And so the court was able to talk about everything that happened that led up to the first trial, the second trial, the first appeal, what the court's reasoning was in that appeal, and why that reasoning was wrong. And then applying a civil standard, a contract standard, and contract principles to this to protect constitutional rights. I thought it was profound. I thought it was something that was very rare, but I thought it was well supported in the decision, and I thought it was the right decision, the right thing to do.
As far as the wording of this Pennsylvania Supreme Court's decision, what did you think about the way in which this decision was written?
I thought it was written very well, very plainly. It says, you know, your average person could read it and fully understand exactly what they were saying. There's no, as you talked about, there's no labyrinth here. There's no sophisticated legal maneuvering here. The court was very clear in just laying out, simply put, this man believed in a promise that you made to him, and contingent on that promise, he engaged in certain conduct and behavior. Had you not made that promise, he would not have engaged in that conduct. And so as a result of that, he detrimentally relied on your promise, and he gave up his constitutional rights. Right? The magnitude of what we're speaking of is, it's not just a mere technicality as people like to blow it off. There is nothing more sacred for us as citizens of this country than our constitutional rights. That's all we have. And so for people to dismiss it as if it was, oh, you know, that they shouldn't have reversed on that. What else is there for a court, a high court, to protect other than your right to remain silent? And that is what was at bar. He gave up his Fifth Amendment right to remain silent in the civil proceedings because he was promised by the district attorney at that time that anything you say in those civil proceedings we're not going to use that against you. They knew that that's what they wanted him to make certain statements in the civil proceeding because they thought that would be the right thing to do to give this woman some measure of justice, since they said we don't have enough on the criminal side to prove this case beyond a reasonable doubt. So because we still are administrators of justice, we want to help her still. And so this is how they got entangled, for lack of a better term, into the civil trial. And that's why we're here.
And I felt the same way about it there. This reading, in my opinion, there are two things. When you see an indictment or a decision, in my opinion, the very best of either of those, not that I'm a fan of them necessarily, but I can take them as what they are. And in my opinion, the best ones are the ones that, for lack of a better term, are written very straightforward, like a novel. If it very plainly puts it in plain spoken chronological order, has the facts very clearly understood. And I can see that they went to great pains to do that, 79 pages, so that people could read it. So you only misunderstand this if you just do not want to accept reality. You're just like, I don't give a damn what the law is. Give me the verdict that I want. Because this very clearly spelled it out. It is impossible to argue with the simplicity of it. They went to great pains to explain in very simple elementary detail why they came to the conclusions that they did. Now, what I want to go do first here is go back here, okay? Because I want to deal with a couple of things. I'm going to hit you with a couple of things here, but I know you're familiar with this case. So let's deal with the first thing here. What is your response as a practicing attorney to the people who say, Attorney Shabazz, you should be ashamed of yourself? Bill Cosby admitted to raping these women. What is your response to that?
He never admitted to raping any women. Never at any point, at any time, did Bill Cosby ever admit to raping any woman. He has always maintained that the sex he has had has been consensual. The only thing he did admit to was supplying them with pills, which he said was Benadryl, not Quaaludes. That's my response.
That's a very good point to make, because the detractors keep repeating the same falsehood over and over again, that somehow he admitted to that, and that is simply not what occurred at any time.
And you know how you know?
And so what's important here is, again, is what Professor Black Truth is talking about right here, is you have these talking points in the mainstream media, and those things are circulated, right? They're circulated on Fox, they're circulated on MSNBC, TYT, The Hill, whatever. And then we start saying the exact same things, right? Because that's the play. If you want the bag, if you want to keep the bag, if you want to ascend, if you want status, if you want to be a part of the in-group, if you want your meritorious manumission, if you want your butter biscuits, if you don't want to be canceled, then damn it, you better go along to get along. Get on code. You know the play. Cosby's bad. This is what he did. Condemn him. Just as they did with Farrakhan, Reverend Jeremiah Wright. You remember when Obama was running for the presidency? And with his sellout ass, he did just that, right? Because I can't be there unless I denounce these people. Because again, it's funny how they still seem to be the ones who know best. We're just looking out for your best interest. You're not going to be able to win if you don't do this, if you don't say this, if you're not against this. This isn't going to be a good look for you, brother. So for many of you, if you are actually listening and not hearing and just waiting to jump in to counteract, and you're listening to the actual facts, then it plays out very differently. And for many of you, you haven't even heard that. See, they play for you what you want to hear. And we're so goddamn lazy that we just digest it all, right? I Googled it. I went to Wikipedia. This source told me. This person told me, and I mean, I trusted, I believe this person is, smart and upstanding, and they wouldn't steer me wrong. Well, did you happen to ask them where they got it from? Well, no, because I trust them. So, it's all good. Did you do any of your own research? No. Why would I need to do that? I mean, I believe them, right? Okay. Got you. For sure. They keep making you do it. And it sounds good. Seems believable. Sounds rational. It makes sense. Why would I question it? I could take you down a line of questioning where you say, okay, is murder bad? Yes. Is it dark outside at night? Yes. Well, if these things are true, well, then, Bill Cosby is guilty. Or you shouldn't believe what this person has to say, or this person is bad, right? Because this, that, and the other. Look, I put it all together for you. Just believe me. You don't need to do any research. You don't need to look at the transcripts for yourself. You don't need to listen to anyone besides people that are giving opinion and not people that are providing the actual evidence. Hell, don't believe me. Research it for your damn self. I heard. Some of y'all are using World Star Hip Hop as your periodic review.
Know how that did it and how that's not the case, because the first trial was hung, right? So if he had admitted to anything and those admissions had been at that trial, certainly 12 jurors would have been convinced by his own admission that he raped someone. This case was not even a rape case. Andrea Constant never said she was raped. This case was sexual assault. There is a difference, so let's be clear about that, okay? Sexual assault does not involve rape necessarily. This involved digital penetration, digits, fingers in the vagina. That's what the allegation was, that he did that without her consent. Not rape. Now, I'm not diminishing that is a violation if it happens, and it happens without your consent, right? But it's not rape. So let's be clear about that first and foremost. Not a rape case.
All right. What do you say to the people who say that in this case here, what has happened is a miscarriage because somehow, and I'm sure you've heard some of these things here before, that somehow Cosby was that the real problem is that Cosby's money gave him undue influence in this case?
The man spent 3 years in jail. Okay, if it was the money, he would have spent no time in jail. I don't think that that's borne out by the actual facts of what occurred, right? Here's a man who is almost blind, and they put him in jail at 80, 79, 80 years old. So if it was about the money, certainly that would have bought him time out on appeal, which legally he could have done. They could have done that. He applied for it. He was denied parole. They didn't let him out during the goddamn pandemic. So it really, I mean, there's things that you can say things, but they have to be backed up by.
What's interesting too is you have people during the Capitol riots attacking, trying to kill police. Police died after the fact. that are getting probation, special diets. They didn't know. Oh, it was Trump. I was just following along. Active duty, separated from the military, retired military, active police, retired police, business owners. They need bail. They get bail. You attack the Capitol. 80-something-year-old man who's blind. The hell is he going to do? And yes, they were letting out violent people. These crimes happened 30 years ago. At best, were the people that were the alleged victims in danger of being assaulted? Was he a danger to him, to other people if he was released? No. They were just going to tell you what they thought, right? Or you think you got some money? We're going to show you. And you suckers just went along with it, right? To help condemn them. On code. And watch these people fight for Elvis. Don't even let them talk bad about Elvis. I told you I'm tired. I'm sick of y'all, man.
Actual facts. And so the people who spew, they pontificate about these things, they don't actually have anything to support any of the things that they're saying. And that's the problem. They get on these platforms, they get on these clubhouses, they get on these, different social media venues, and they start talking, and it's mostly emotional talk, and it's not backed up by any facts. Facts. I deal in facts. I'm an attorney. Empirical evidence is what matters to me. I fuck your feelings. That's
Facts.
What do you say to the people who say, Attorney Shabazz, you are refusing to acknowledge that these courts were biased against these women and that they never had a chance, and that that's just the way it is in court, that court does not take allegations of sexual assault seriously?
And again, that's not backed up by any of the facts. Now, if you want to look at how this trial, how it happened, the first trial, when we talk about allowing in someone's prior bad conduct, prior bad acts, right? Remember this. So in the first trial, remember, all these women had come forward, and the prosecutor said, well, we want to introduce other testimony of prior bad acts which will show that he has a pattern of conduct. He's a predator. This is what he does, right? And so the first trial, the judge said, all right, I'll let one prior bad act in, one witness. That was hung. Second trial, the judge, same type of evidence. The judge says, all right, we'll allow in 5 now, since we didn't get you last time, motherfucker. We're allowing 5 this time. And so even in the decision, even though they didn't address this issue factually, they talked about the 5 prior bad act witnesses that came in and told their story. So really, if the municipality didn't give them any type of credence for what they were saying, why would they be the basis of a motion to admit evidence based on the shit they said? So that, again, it's not borne out by the facts. It's not borne out by the facts. Now, when we talk about historically, right, if we're talking historically, not within the vacuum of this trial or how the prosecutors dealt with this particular case or these particular women, if we're talking historically about how the legal system and the legal justice system has dealt with sexual assault against women, sure, we can talk about that and how particularly Black women, right, have not been taken seriously, have had our violations discredited, has had our credibility challenged to the point where women don't want to come forward and things of that nature. Sure, we can deal with that. But 2 things can be true, right? That can be a reality, right? And then these women could have been treated fairly in Pennsylvania.
Well, here's the thing that I consider to be absolutely outrageous and unconscionable for anybody, anywhere, to sit up here and dismiss the entirety of the most notorious court system in the world in that regard for being racist, the United States of America, and to claim that somehow in this nation that did what it did to Jack Johnson, that did what it did to Emmett Till,
Facts.
that has done what it has done to the point that the Texas court system has become a damn joke with letting out wrongfully incarcerated black men. And to claim that this exact, not to mention what's happening in Pennsylvania, I think they had a juvenile court judge there who basically was running a Ponzi scheme, essentially locking up juveniles for no damn reason while he was getting paid off. And to claim that this same court system, whose entire history has been built on, the 13th Amendment of the Constitution, was written specifically for the purposes of maintaining chattel control of black males. Forget convict leasing. I'm just going to leapfrog over that one. And let's just go straight to after convict leasing, which essentially still exists today, by the way. Yes. But we'll just go ahead and leapfrog that one. And to claim that this same system now gives preferential treatment to black men. It's like, what kind of bizarro world is this where we are 6% of the population, but 40% of the inmates, but half the damn exonerees, and yet we somehow occupy a privileged position? What the hell?
6% of the population, 40% of those incarcerated, and half of the exonerees. Half? How are we 6% of the population, but we make up 40%? I was just talking to someone earlier about drugs and alcohol and how we talk about the disparagement in how policing and the criminal justice system works, right? So pretty much every day, especially on the weekends, they can go to the sorority or the frat house, and there's alcohol and an assortment of drugs, right? But you can't ruin their lives. They have their whole lives ahead of them. They're just young, dumb. They're kids. But you're going to come over to our party spots. You're going to park and wait for us to leave and catch us. And it's like, well, you guys break the law more. You're just by nature criminals. What do you want us to say? Look at the stats. The stats, the truth is in the stats, right? But story after story after story. Oh, I got let off with a warning. Don't do that no more. They just took me home. I talk crazy to the cops. How dare you? I pay your salary, yada, 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 this, that, and the other. That's a hell of a stat. We are 6% of the population, 40% of incarcerated, and half of all exonerees. Let alone our black boys that can't read, that are illiterate, that aren't on the reading level, that don't have a man in the home. Are we dead men walking? %6 of the population, 40% of incarcerated, half of all exonerees. See, we focused on all the wrong things.
We don't have, if we had that kind of pull, How the hell are we ended up in prison in the first damn place?
First place, right. It doesn't make any sense. It does not make any sense at all whatsoever. Nope.
And as far as, you know, when women are concerned and whatnot, a lot of these folk here can kiss my ass, because I've sat up here and, you know, since day one, we've been talking about Sandra Bland, Rakia Boyd, Renisha McBride, Breonna Taylor, and none of these media outlets, none of these courts, none of these activists, Paige and Gloria Allred, none of these people have sat up here and made any of these women a crusade. And yet and we won't even talk about Daniel Holtzclaw, who was a police officer running around grabbing every black female he could, just dozens and dozens, and nobody was, and they're trying to make a case to get him out today, and nobody was acting this way about this then. And then to claim that somehow there's some preferential treatment going on is just, it's absolutely an insult to our intelligence. I want to get to DA Castor. I want to deal with that first before I go on to something else here. And what I want to do, for those of you, if you all haven't read the decision, and I know y'all haven't, me and Attorney Shabazz did, but the rest of y'all didn't. That's all right. That's what you come here for. It's like, I can't read it, Jason. Can you do it for me? All right, fine. I want to skip to page 16. For those of you who've gotten the link, page 16 of their decision. And this is what they said. On September 23rd, 2015, upon learning that DA Furman, because at this point here, Castor had left to go become, I think, county commissioner. And this woman, Furman, had taken over in his place. And I think first assistant district attorney was this Kevin Steele, who basically, and I was in Philadelphia, by the way. We're going to come back to Kevin Steele here in a moment. But Attorney Shabazz, I was in Philadelphia at the time that this was occurring. Kevin, I was in the hotel watching the TVs, and they had the Philadelphia Inquirer front page every day was about Bill Cosby. On the TV, every other commercial was Kevin Steele. This man was literally running for office on local TV. It literally was like, vote for me, I'm going to convict Bill Cosby. That's literally what it was. I'm sitting there like, what is this, a comedy skit? No, that was literally his campaign platform. Vote for me, I'm going to convict Bill Cosby. So it was insane to see that. But for those of you who hadn't read the decision, in the decision there on page 16, on September 23rd, 2015, upon learning that DA Furman had reopened the case against Bill Cosby, former DA Castor sent her an email to which he attached his February 17, 2005 press release, stating the following: Dear Rissa, I certainly know better than to believe what I read in the newspaper, and I have witnessed firsthand your legal acumen. So you almost certainly know this already. I'm writing to you just in case you might have forgotten what we did with Cosby back in 2005. Attached is my opinion from then. Once we decided that the chances of prevailing in a criminal case were too remote to make an arrest, I concluded that the best way to achieve justice was to create an atmosphere where Constant would have the best chance at prevailing in a civil suit against Cosby. With the agreement of Attorney Phillips and Constant's lawyer, Phillips was Bill Cosby's lawyer at the time, I wrote the attached as the only, he put that in capital letters, only comment I would make while the civil case was pending. Again, with the agreement of the defense lawyer and Constance lawyers, I intentionally and specifically bound the Commonwealth that there would be no state prosecution of Cosby in order to remove from him the ability to claim his Fifth Amendment protection against self-incrimination, thus forcing him to sit for a deposition under oath. Attorney Phillips was speaking for Cosby's side at the time, but he was in contact with Cosby's civil lawyers who did not deal with me directly that I recall. I only discovered today that Attorney Phillips had died. But those lawyers representing Constant civilly, whose names I did not remember until I saw them in recent media accounts, were part of this agreement because they wanted to make Cosby testify. I believed at the time that they thought making him testify would solidify their civil case. But the only way to do that was for us, the Commonwealth, to promise not to prosecute him. So in effect, that is what I did. I never made an important decision without discussing it with you during your tenure as first assistant. Knowing the above, I can see no possibility that Cosby's deposition could be used in a state criminal case because I would have to testify as to what happened and the deposition would be subject to suppression. I cannot believe any state judge would allow that deposition into evidence, nor anything derived therefrom. In fact, that was the specific intent of all parties involved, including the Commonwealth and the plaintiff's lawyers. Knowing this, unless you can make out a case without that deposition and without anything the deposition led you to, I think Cosby would have an action against the county and maybe even against you personally. That is why I have publicly suggested looking for lies in the deposition as an alternative now that we have learned of all these other victims we did not know about at the time we made the go, no-go decision on arresting Cosby. Now, for those of you who did not know, that was a letter written by former DA Castor to Miss Furman when she took over when he left, letting her know, let me remind you of why we did what we did. Just in case it slipped your mind.
And you was there. And you were there.
But yeah, as a matter of fact, let me remind you what we were doing.
Yes.
Because it seems like you're a little confused and you've kind of forgotten what we did. But in order to get Cosby to agree to the civil deposition, we had to agree not to prosecute him. Otherwise, his lawyer is going to tell him, well, hell, you don't have to, if they're going to just criminally prosecute you, you don't have to incriminate yourself. Right. So that's what Castor said. I remember, I think he said it on Fox also, that he was stuck with two options. I can either attempt to prosecute him, in which case we have a flimsy case to begin with. He's just going to plead the fifth and hope that things change, which means he confesses. We hope he's going to confess. Fat chance of that one. Or give him, I won't say immunity, but give him protection from prosecution so that he waives his Fifth Amendment right in a civil case. Those are our options. And he wrote this letter to her to remind her, let me remind you why we did this. Attorney Shabazz, when you see a letter like that show up from the former DA, if this were your client, Bill Cosby, if this were your client and you saw something like that occurring, what would you be thinking of the actions of the current prosecutor once this letter has been delivered to them? What would you be in your mind, just personally, what would be your hunch? What's motivating them after they've received this letter?
Political maliciousness, vindictiveness, political capital, anything along those lines. Looking to be, make a name for yourself as the person who took down Bill Cosby. Because this is clear. This is black and white. Now, there's some issue here with respect to how immunity is conferred in Pennsylvania, right? And these are supposed to be experienced, expensive attorneys. There's a statute in Pennsylvania that says the DA can't do it. It has to be done by a judge. All of the parties that were so vested and interested in making this work should have done it properly, which might give the current DA an out if Cosby does pursue a civil suit, because they didn't do it right. Right? We know what they intended, but the law is procedure and substance, and you must follow proper procedure. That's why this is all the technicality people talk about. It's just the technicality. Listen, that's what governs us, right? To technical shit in the law. And so they did not follow the Pennsylvania statutory procedure to confer immunity. You have to have a judge do it. And so the DA is like, did you put the shit in writing? I mean, you know, I got to break it down and put it in Ike Speaks terms. So the Risa, the person who receives the letter from Castro, Furman, is like, yeah. But was that in writing? Was that reduced to a writing? No, it wasn't. It was never reduced to a writing. It basically was only his signed press conference, signed press release statement that said that. What should have been done is it should have been reduced to a writing, and all interested parties should have been a party to it, signing it and executing it. That way, there's no confusion, which is what happened, right? So they get to say, we've got plausible deniability here because this is not in writing and it's not done properly. It's not done pursuant to the statute. So we get to ignore this agreement that you made. And that's why they went forward with the prosecution, despite the fact that Andrea Constantine received over $3 million in settlement and herself, as part of this agreement, agreed not to testify in a criminal trial. Yet she had her behind up on that stand.
I mean, I don't even know how much more you need to hear this. Again, you know, I implore you to go to the Black channel. Listen to Jason Black there. Listen to attorney Al Shabazz. You know, break it down. You know, and that's one of the things that really frustrate me with the institution, right? And you know, I'm gonna get into the grant as an update. You know, of course, we didn't receive the grant as I knew we wouldn't, right? And we have been invited to I'll go over it soon. But we've been invited to hear about what they are trying to do, and they want to hear more of our thoughts. You know, I don't think it's very. You know, we'll see. How's that? How about I don't make assumptions, but I will go and confront them on it. But what makes me think about that was, you know, again, the grant question is how are you going to decrease racism, right? Institutional racism, white supremacy. And again, it's offensive. And why? Because it's this type of stuff, right? So while these people, they want it both ways. So when the law works for a black person, especially a black man, oh, it's an issue. He got off on a technicality. But the institution of white supremacy made all these damn laws. And what they tell us all the time is, well, it's the law. We were just following the law, right? That's what they tell us all the time. We were just following the law. That's the law. The law allows us to do that. We're not breaking the law. But it's like, well, who made the law? That's why white supremacy exists. That's why the institution of white supremacy exists. And we all play in it and keep it going because the law that was created. Right? And then, of course, you have the majority of Americans that voted for Trump and put him into office when we knew it was a year that Supreme Court justices were going to be replaced. And they were saying it before. It could be 1, could be 2, it might even be 3. It ended up being 3. And he bragged on how many federal court judges that he put into place, right? And again, he won the majority, right? He won the vote and barely lost it this time. the institution of white supremacy. You're not black if you don't vote for Democrat. I'm not going to do anything for just black people. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. Oh, well, it's the lesser of two evils if you go with the feckless Democratic Party. They're going to give you a party. They're going to give you a holiday. They might give you a statue. They're going to tell you that Black Lives Matter, but that's all they're going to do. And then they'll weaponize everything else against you. And then make you stick up for it. And stick up you shall. Is it offensive? It should be. Should be. But the laws that are created, the laws that are on the books, are designed against us. And Biden put many of those laws in place. And proud of it. I should pull that up and play that. Single-handedly did more to destroy black families. Destroy our warrior class. 6% of the population, black men. 40% of the incarcerated, half of the exonerated. Biden, Democrat. Well, what you want us to do? People died, so we have the right to vote. No, it's not why they died. It's what they tell you, and then you start telling yourself that. So they make the laws. And the only way that we can change the laws is if we get elected and then we change the laws. But when we get elected, we turn into Obama. It's a bridge too far. I have all branches of government. I could do whatever the hell I want. Now Trump will do it, but no, I've got to reach across the aisle. That's what I got to do, right? Nobody else does it. We're going to put the football down. The Republicans are going to pull it right before I kick it. Blue Lives Matter under Obama. So we got to get in there to change the law, but now we got Kamala Harris. Now we got Biden. And anyone that ascends, we're getting piecemeal. Why are we still in jail? When Boehner, who used to be against marijuana, now is part of one of the largest marijuana companies in the country. So you're against it until you can start making money and you leave office. But we're still in jail. We're still in prison. It's still used. I smell marijuana from a joint 2 weeks ago in your car, and that gives me probable cause. But it's the law, right? We're just following the law. Y'all won't wake up. You won't wake up. How? How do we get you to wake up? How? Tell me how.
That's how we cry.
And it felt great to be a liar.
So for me, when I saw that, my mind started really turning more so historically. But when I initially just posted a compilation of it on our Instagram, and let me go ahead and address those people first. Those people that really have a low level of thinking, in my opinion, it is low level thinking. When you seen that, only thing you thought about in your mind was black men, y'all better stop dating them white women. Look at what they doing. Do you think that every black man in America dates a white woman? No. That is a minority of people, according to statistics. That's not the majority. The majority of black people, I say people, male and female, date and marry black people. That's actually in every group. But you're so concerned about what the minority is doing. Worry about yourself. Anyway, the issue for me is when they do that, and in history, they have done what you saw in this video, this compilation video that we put together here of many TikToks, and they have said that black man R word. I can't say it on YouTube. Get your page in trouble. You know the word I'm talking about. Me, and crying like that, but was lying. They were doing something consensual with you, but when they man came around, he did that to me, was crying like that. Now brother is strung up on some tree somewhere. Or when they call the police on you, lying on you, right? Crying like that, and the police believe them. You're like, I didn't even do her nothing. I didn't even say anything to her. And they just taking you to jail, abusing you off of her crying and lying like that. It is manipulation. It is deception. And we have been enduring that manipulation and deception for hundreds and hundreds of years. You know, on your job, they could pull a stunt like that to get you fired. Like y'all was going back and forth on a argument.
Get back to the place where ideas take root and expand the.
You gotta love these commercials. All right, I'm gonna stop it there. You know, again, check out Phil Scott Diaspora channel. You know, it's something how we can always talk about it in the abstract. Oh, white supremacy, institutional racism, discrimination. But then when it actually is happening, we're not for it. It's got to be this abstract thing that we're fighting. We're not going to point directly at it. And not only that, when it happens to our black men, we're not going to defend it. That's why it was important to wish them a happy Father's Day for those that are incarcerated. Boy, I tell you, the lost tribe. I don't know what we're going to do, but we're going to have to do something. Time is running out. Time is running out. We got to do something before it's too late. We've lost so many of our warriors already. Our fathers, our sons, our brothers, our nephews, our uncles. Is this you? Do you go along to get along? Do you help to destroy your brother? So interesting that no one believes us. Oh, we brought it on ourselves. That's the one that gets me, right? Talk about no victim shaming. But we're never seen as the victim. So we shouldn't have been doing that anyway, right? So you get what you get. We will forgive everyone else, everything else. But we won't forgive our black men. Your time is coming to an end. That era is over. And it's going to be hard. There's definitely going to be the gnashing of teeth. You know, I think about my 9-year-old, innocent. But I know y'all could give a damn about her. And I get it, right? Because it doesn't matter. You will destroy what you have to destroy to keep your bag, to keep your position, keep your status, your stance. All right. It's a new day. There's so many of us that are thinking the same, that are waking up, that are speaking out, that understand that we're damned if we do and we're damned if we don't. So what we're going to do is we're going to stand. We're alone out in the streets. We're alone in the shelter. We're alone in the jail. We're alone in the prison. We're often alone in our own homes. But we're gathering. And we're getting strong. Power is not given, power is taken. The age of Malcolm is back. I'm R1 Cameron. This is the Conduit. All right, y'all. Wake up. Join us. Age of Malcolm. If not, be prepared. We are coming. It is our life work to bring the community together by any means necessary, which means that we've got to dig out the weeds in our group. And that we will do. But not only the weeds in the Black community, but in the rest of the BIPOC community. So if you're a pretend ally, if you're part of the Black community and you're protecting the rest of the folks that are hiding behind minority status or special status while they attack, you're done. No longer will we be silent.